The things that Zack Wheeler is doing on an MLB baseball field are not normal. The Phillies ace has taken his game to an even greater level this year and needs to be put in some more respectful conversations for how great of a pitcher he truly is. I'm ready to shout from the heavens why the Cy Young needs to come a knocking for this guy who deserves to be considered among the best pitchers in Phillies history. Zack Wheeler is that dude. I do want to highlight exactly what he's bringing to this Phillies team, why he is so necessary and so underappreciated for the impact that he brings, and run a little victory lap of how sweet it is that back in 2019, the New York Mets said, no, 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 you are not worth that money. And what happened? Zack Wheeler came to Philadelphia to become an all-time great pitcher for this Phillies franchise. Now, to highlight what he's doing for this Phillies team, I'm going to start off with his stats on the season that he's pitched in 18 games, a 75% win-loss percentage. He's gone 116 innings, 148 strikeouts, 11 home runs allowed, just 73 hits allowed. That comes out to 5.7 hits per 9 innings, a 2.17 ERA, and a .845 whip there. That we do know he is coming off an almost perfect game where he went complete game, 12 strikeouts. He was one pitch away from it being a perfect game. Now, obviously, that one pitch was taken over the right field fence by Austin Hayes, who let the crowd hear it, wanted that moment there, but I got to give Zack his flowers for just how great he's been. Now, to set the full stage for exactly how good he's been, I do want to pull up a couple things for here. For starters, shout out to him being the player of the week in the National League, far deserving there, and a guy who I don't think has gotten nearly the number of accolades that his talent commands here. And what do I mean by that? That we'll keep it with this season to start. That since the start of June, he's pitched 40 innings for this Phillies team, allowed just 3 earned runs, struck out 54. That comes out to a .68 ERA here. That just last week, he became the first Phillies player with 12 strikeouts, 0 walks, and 1 or 0 hits allowed in game in at least the last 125 seasons. And just last week, in which he earned this honor for Player of the Week, that he pitched 17 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 22 strikeouts, a 0.53 ERA, and a 0.41 whip there. That is freakish stuff. That is video game stuff. That is stuff that is not normal for any pitcher ever. And Zack Wheeler is doing these on the baseball field. Now, when I think about Zack Wheeler as a whole, we obviously recognize that he's a fantastic pitcher. I think any baseball fan is willing to give you that. But it is interesting to me when you do have these conversations for who's the best pitcher in baseball, that it doesn't feel like he's the first name out of mouths or a quick name out of mouths. Now, this is no disrespect to the Paul Skeens or Tariq Skubals, there are a lot of talented pitchers in the major league. But Zack Wheeler is that dude that he deserves to be a Cy Young winner this year. And I will say it will be absolutely criminal to me if this guy goes his entire career without one of those on the shelves. Now, to highlight a little bit about since he came to Philadelphia here, there are a couple other stats that I did want to pull up. And I'm going to start with that since the start of the 2020 season, which once again is when he signed with the Phillies on one of the all-time great free agent additions. I think you can make a case that's the greatest free agent signing in franchise history, but he's pitched 936 innings pitched. That is the most in the MLB. He's posting a 67-35 record. That is the best in baseball. A 2.86 ERA, which is tied for the best in the majors. A 2.91 FIP there, first in Major League Baseball. A 22.1% strikeout to walk percent, also first in the league. A 1.02 whip, first in Major League Baseball. A 3.32 Sierra, first in Major League Baseball. Is he the best pitcher of all time to not win a Cy Young? I think is an excellent question here. Now, for starters, I hope we can put an end to that question by the end of the season because he is earning it, and I know that Paul Skeens is currently considered the favorite for it, but I watched Paul Skeens get pulled after 5 innings in that same day that Zack Wheeler was slicing and dicing. And if you want to bring up the wins-losses, which, by the way, we can't really with Paul Skeens because I feel, frankly, bad for the guy. He's posting a 1.74 ERA over his past 12 starts and has won one of those games, I believe the stat that I read last night. Something along those lines. The point being that they are completely wasting him in Pittsburgh has not quite been the case for Zack Wheeler in Philadelphia. It's been awesome to see him being able to pitch in some high leverage moments in the playoffs. And the combination of consistency, the amount of innings that he eats up, and just pure effectiveness is incredibly rare there. This man is a horse in what is a dying breed in Major League Baseball. That you don't get those guys that every 5 days is ready to eat up 7 innings, go on the mound. This is the closest thing to Roy Halladay that we've seen or probably will see in the modern era of baseball. That this dude is the man, Zack Wheeler here, and a couple others that I did want to pull up. That since the signing, he's posted a 27.0 WAR. Once again, that is wins above replacement since 2021. The next highest is Logan Webb with 20.02. That is a huge gap there. And of course, I did highlight this stat already, but just to put it into perspective once again, that Zack Wheeler is the first Phillies pitcher with 12 plus strikeouts, 0 walks, and 1 or 0 hits allowed in a game in at least 125 seasons. Now, from a national perspective, I am fired up that I want this guy to be pushed more. I want Zack Wheeler to be celebrated like he is Paul Skeens. And sure, I'm sure he'd be looked at in slightly different light if he was dating Livy Dunn out there. I'm sure that's a part of the equation or the Skeens allure there. But for Zack Wheeler specifically, I think it's awesome that this is a dude that like has one of the more bizarre personalities in sports. And I do think it's cool that we've sort of been let under the hood in a way this season where I never knew any of this stuff about Zack. And shout out to all the Phillies beat reporters that do an awesome job uncovering stuff. There was a great Matt Gelb deep dive talking about like how he beats as a person, and a really funny story about just like how, yes, he is this elite athlete. Yes, he is one of the best pitchers in baseball, but he is not in the way where he is showing up every single day obsessed with baseball. They told a couple funny stories where he wanted to celebrate his 10 years of service, being around the majors for 10 seasons, and what did he do? He bought the entire clubhouse McDonald's. That's who Zack Wheeler is. That after Randy Arozarena was going on an absolute tear around Major League Baseball, ripping home runs, including off Wheeler, that he got the better of him there, that they're trying to create a game plan, that Caleb Cotham, speaking with JT Realmuto, speaking with the other pitching staff, and they asked Wheeler, and you know what Wheeler's question in this overall conversation was? What side of the plate does Randy hit from again? And JT lost it, saying, dude, are you serious? You're not paying attention to that extent there? But that's sort of how he beats. He's a different kind of cat. And he's made it very clear that he's got 2 years left. There's no doubt that anybody with eyeballs can identify that he is still pitching at an incredibly elite level, but he says he wants to walk away on his own terms, be a family man, do his thing, and he's going to be out. That the guys say in the offseason, you are not getting into contact with Zack Wheeler. He is on his own time. He's doing his own thing, and it is kind of cool. That is some ace stuff right there. That is a guy that beats to his own drum, and if you back it up on the baseball field, I'm never going to complain about any of that. So I bring this all up to say is just appreciate Zack Wheeler a little bit more here. That is my message for a good portion of the season. That from the Phillies, from a team perspective, it is incredibly valuable to know what you're getting from your top end guy every single time that he's on the mound. He can be a power pitcher. He can hit his spots. He's got the off speed going. He really is the complete package in a way that I don't think I recognized or appreciated until this year. Just to see the way that he's been able to repeat this on an every game basis essentially here has been really special stuff. So from the Phillies perspective, that's incredibly valuable to have that guy at the top end of your rotation. And when we have all these conversations about what's next for Ranger Suarez, is Andrew Painter ready? How do you round out the bottom of this rotation? Taijuan Walker is about to start soon. What are we doing here? You know you have Zack Wheeler, and that's a really comforting thing as an organization. I do hope that this trend continues, that this guy continues to dominate and get celebrated at a greater level from the Major League Baseball perspective. I do hope that there is a legitimate push and significant momentum for him having a chance at winning the Cy Young Award this year. By my money's worth, he's been the best pitcher in baseball, and I don't think enough people are saying that with their chest. So to Zack Wheeler, appreciate you for absolutely balling out on the mound lately. Appreciate you for being the ace of this Phillies team in a way that, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't even confident that you would be capable of. He has been everything we could have imagined that the Phillies signed and more. I do believe it's the best free agent signing of this modern Phillies era. Sure, you can make a case for Bryce Harper. Maybe Trey creeps up that list as he continues to produce. But Zack Wheeler, man, sets this tone in a way that you just don't get from a lot of pitchers nowadays. So shout out to him. So let's start that Zack Wheeler for Cy Young campaign. It is time to start giving a little bit of motion and backing up that our guy is delivering at that level, because Zack Wheeler just straight up is. Let me know if you guys are on board and thinking the same thing with all of that there. Appreciate each and one of you guys for tuning into this video as always. If you have not already, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Drop a like on this video here. I'll be back talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.